Welcome to Jappa Central, the podcast that invites you to explore the incredible life stories of our diverse interviewees, all through the lens of their experiences in various countries. I hope you enjoyed this episode. So welcome to another episode of Jappa Central. This is a special one with my guy Mo. I've been trying to put this episode together for over 2 years now. long before we even had the studio, we've been trying to put this all together. But if you don't know, Mo's a very important person. He's the host of Two Sabi podcast, amongst other things. And he's decided to join us on Jappa Central. So Mo, thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
This is my friend.
Thanks.
So I might be some of the questions I'll ask you, I already know the answers to, but for the purpose of the viewers. So Jappa Central looks at life, how it's a comparison of life in the different countries you've lived in. So in Mo's case, he moved from Nigeria. So he grew up in Nigeria and then he moved from Nigeria at some point, which we'll go into. So we're going to touch, we're going to talk about what life was like for you in Nigeria growing up and then what your experience has been in the UK so far.
No, sounds good, mate.
So thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
So let's start.
No soft drinks, no food, no nothing.
I'll take you out. We'll go in Heritage. We'll go in Heritage after this.
Sounds good, bro. Sounds good.
Shout out to Heritage, by the way. Give us some food sponsorship. But yeah, so to start from the beginning. So you were born in the 60s, 50s?
50s actually. You missed it. No. I was born in the 80s, mid 80s.
Okay. So where were you born?
Lagos, Nigeria, hospital in GRA to be specific, in Ikeja. And I grew up in Maryland.
Okay.
Grew up on the same road as a lot of my cousins. And childhood was good. From the earliest memories I have of childhood, it was always being around family, friends, doing sleepovers. Just having freedom, running around, doing those things we did as kids.
And what is your earliest memory of life in Nigeria? So if you can think of one thing, your earliest memory growing up in Lagos, what would that be?
Must have been a party. So I was my earliest memory, I think, was my aunt's wedding, maybe. Maybe I was 5 or 4. That's what comes to my mind.
Okay, that's good.
And
what do you remember about that?
I remember a lot of food, a lot of dancing, spraying, but that's sort of where it cuts off. But I can see that image in my head, and that's why I said, it was my childhood was fun. It was happy. There was always one party or the other. And my earliest memory was probably my aunt's wedding. Or maybe it was a birthday party, some sort of party, but I can remember it in my head.
Okay, that's nice.
And I think that's the earliest.
Okay, so when you were in primary school, what kind of student were you? Were you the smart one? Were you the playful one?
Yeah, I was a combination. I was definitely a smart one because more recently I was looking at my old results. So when you have actually it was my mom who sent me pictures of them. So she was, I think, going through stuff and looking through old things, and I was always first or second.
Okay.
And I remember it as well as far back. In fact, I had 2 double promotions.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I had 2 double promotions. So I didn't do primary 4, and I didn't do primary 6.
Okay, so you must have been the youngest when you went to secondary school.
Yeah, I was one of the youngest ones, and a lot of my friends, I didn't tell them my real age because you know how it is in Nigeria. They call you small boy.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be called small boy, so I didn't tell a lot of people how old I really was. But I was one of the youngest. Part of me probably would, if I had a chance to do it again, I'd probably go through one of those 2 classes I skipped. Because what happened was I go into secondary school young, and I used the same mentality as primary school where I just knew the answers to things.
That's how I got caught out as well.
And then you go to secondary school where you have to study a bit more.
Yeah.
And because my parents both worked, when I think the driver will pick us up or something like that, take us back home. was the house help. So there was no one to really enforce that studying. It was like, boys, let's play. My cousins, two of my younger cousins lived with us when we were younger for a few years. And so there were 4 boys in the house. I've got a younger brother. My sister was off to boarding school. So it was 4 boys and we just wreaked havoc in the house.
Oh, wow.
We were on the streets playing football.
City boys.
City boys. So that was sort of like education for me. But I'm not stupid, so I can see something and then
you could keep up, but you just weren't excelling how you would have if you
Exactly. I've got a good photographic memory as well. So as long as I've seen it somewhere or been in a class and heard it, I can replicate it. But the older you get, or in the education system, it goes beyond that.
Yeah.
You need that extra. You need that extra paper you've read. You need that thing you've read to combine.
To put everything together.
So the older I got, the more average I became because I wasn't trying hard enough.
Yeah, and I totally understand. And I think there's elements of that for me as well.
Yeah.
So in primary school, I was excelling and I thought I would just go into secondary school and do the same. But it requires a lot of work outside of, the actual four walls of a classroom. Okay, so you did all of that. You finished secondary school. What uni did you go to?
Went to Unilag.
Okay.
No, so I started off at Babcock University.
Private university,
and it was just not my idea of university. All of the things that you had planned to do, or what your mentality or experience to other people was of university, was not what I'd seen there. I thought university you had to have 100% freedom, party.
It was like a glorified secondary school, basically.
It was in part, and you had to sort of leave school. You had to sort of run away from school. Things that you did in secondary school just to go to those parties, and it was at a risk because if you get caught, then you get suspended or expelled. And I couldn't go home and tell my parents I was expelled because I went to a party. I wasn't raised in that kind of house, so it was different. I enjoyed the first few weeks that I spent there. Met new people, went to a few parties in Ibadan, but it wasn't the same.
So how did you decide then? Like, what was the decision like to leave Babcock to Unilag? How did you pull this one off?
So I'll tell you. Yeah. So I was studying international law and diplomacy in Babcock, and I was doing like a pre-degree to then go into the main system. But I then simultaneously applied to Unilag to do a diploma in law because I didn't pass JAMB at all. Like,
I know the struggles, man.
Yeah, that JAMB was just next level. So it was the option of going through doing a diploma. So you pay some money and then you go in there and then you go into year 2. So I started off doing diploma in law and I just couldn't hack it. Not because I wasn't smart enough to hack it, but for law you had to read. You had to read a lot. And this is me with all the freedom in Unilag, partying, girls. I just couldn't. I did pass the diploma in law. I passed it actually, but I didn't want to continue. So I told my dad I was going to go to creative arts, and he looked at me like
how do you go from
what the hell?
How do you go from law to creative arts?
Exactly, like no son of mine is going to be a clown type of look. So I then had the option of going to English, studying English. Again, that was worse in my father's ears, but I was able to convince him saying, no, English should be my first degree, then I'll do law. I said that's the best way. I managed to because everyone in my house has a science background. In fact, me ending up in art class was another war that I had to fight earlier on in like GSS3 when you did that exam.
You know the funny thing, I feel like I'm an art student,
Yeah.
but I had to go to science because my dad would have been impressed. So I did science just because I was trying to impress my family, especially my dad. But naturally, I think I'd have excelled better in art. So I know what you mean.
Yeah, I did.
I'm proud that you actually went for what you wanted.
Yeah, I went for it. I enjoyed it. I mean, so English, you read a lot of books, but it's better books. Like you're reading poetry and you're giving your own take on it. So a lot of it was very creative, and I'm more of a creative person than a numbers person. And so I found the degree easy. I could have done much better, but again, so many distractions. Unilag is in the middle of Lagos,
Yeah.
you know,
And you grew up in Lagos. So
and I grew up in Lagos. And everywhere you look, there's access to everywhere. There's access to the mainland. It's only 10 minutes from the island without any traffic, or 15 minutes. You know, there are restaurants all around. We always,
You should have gone to uni in like Zamfara or
do you know what I mean?
where
Like
you just
Sokoto,
where you
you
stay in the
just-
school, no parties. No.
you can't come out because it's so hot. Yeah, just
me.
in class, you know. So that was how that was sort of what education was like for me.
Okay, so we've talked about the general lifestyle
Yeah.
while you were in uni. In terms of education, in terms of the quality of the lecturers and the lectures you went to, did you go to lectures? Were your lecturers helpful? Did you have seminars? How was it then?
Good question. So, not to be too negative, but I mean, I was studying English, but half the lecturers couldn't speak proper English.
Oh wow, okay.
You know,
say no more.
maybe less than half, but
Yeah.
they and the way it was taught was, it was not in the practicality of what it needed to be. It was very theoretical, and everyone just had like a bunch of notes and specifics they had to teach you. It felt like being in a science class at times. So I don't think the quality of the lecturers, some of them were brilliant, don't get me wrong, some were brilliant, but there were some that, looking back now, you know, were not great.
Yeah.
I attended as many classes as I could because they did attendances and you had to be there. So I went to classes, and that was what helped me during exams because,
You remember?
you know, I remembered stuff. But again, going to classes was about, you know, meeting the girls, acting like cool guys. On hindsight, I probably should have just sat in front and just faced it and focused, but, you know, no regrets.
Okay.
So it could be better. Like, there are some brilliant lecturers, and there are some that were not up to standard.
Got you. And so, what was your experience like? So, for people who are not Nigerian or who haven't lived in Nigeria, when you finish secondary school, the normal practice is to join to take a year out to go and serve the country. It's called the NYSC.
Oh, that's after uni.
Yeah, after university. Yeah. So the National Youth Corps, National Youth Service Corps.
Yeah.
Yeah, NYSC. Yeah, I didn't do it, so you guys should know.
Yeah.
So, what was your experience like first at camp? So it's a 1 month camp or a 3 week camp?
Yeah, so just a bit of background for people who don't know what it is. So it's just a 1 year national service you do, where I think the aim of it was to get people to go around different parts of the country and help develop different parts of the country. So you have people from the south who, you know, more graduates from the south and the east. And the plan is to, or the idea was to take them to the north to help, you know, serve as teachers, community workers. And also, I think it was also to have like a reserve in case there was a war and you've exhausted all the options. You have the like a paramilitary, like a reserves.
Yeah, military age individuals, because these are young students.
Exactly. So you get a 3 weeks period where you're doing a lot of parades and marching and doing some
all trained by military officials.
Military officials, yes, and you're climbing on stuff, doing physical activities, doing long walks and marching around the place. So it was sort of like a light military introduction, you know. So you do that for 3 weeks, and then you get posted out to wherever you're posted to. So in the first instance, you get posted away from where you stay. You're not meant to serve where you're from. So I was from Lagos. I lived in Lagos, grew up in Lagos. But I got posted to Abuja, which is the capital, but it was through...
Let me just... Yeah, that's what I was about to ask. You knew someone that knew someone,
I
correct?
knew someone that knew someone.
Correct, that's fine.
If I could have been posted to like the extreme north somewhere.
Yeah.
And even some of my friends who...
But, sorry, not to cut you short. So, I don't have a problem with people who can sort themselves out, only because I feel like for a country that'll post you to somewhere and not provide enough security for yourself doesn't make sense.
It was all
they're
about
going to post you to the north,
exactly,
and you're not going to be safe out there. I'll go and pay someone and get a better posting.
No, absolutely, and one of the reasons as well, because my parents were very particular about safety. Safety was main concern, Because I remember some coppers getting killed in different parts of Nigeria. I remember there was, not just the north, remember, is it Okija? Where there was a shrine and they said people were being used.
Okay, I didn't know about that, but
yeah. So it was all about security and what you know. So, for my parents, it was about making sure I was safe in a safe place. So I'm still glad that I went away from home, which was the primary objective of the whole thing. And I did enjoy Abuja. I served so I got posted to INEC, the Election Commission.
Yeah,
and I was excited.
You're part of the people that caused the.
I didn't even. It was close. I think it was close to one of the elections. I was excited, thinking, "Oh, you're gonna get paid. You make money from it. Blah blah blah." But rubbish. It was the worst thing. Not worst thing, but I was posted to this place. They didn't have space for me. So a friend was working in one of the government agencies, and he spoke to his boss, and then his boss said, "Oh yeah, you can come and work for us." And so I got reposted there. Didn't have much work to do when I got there.
Was this INEC?
No, this was Abuja Environmental Protection Board.
Okay.
So I left INEC because INEC didn't have space for any more coppers, because all the coppers wanted to be in INEC, thinking you were going to make a lot of money from
during
INEC.
elections.
Yeah, during elections. So I ended up in this AEPB place. It was in charge of environmental matters and I don't know, other things, but I didn't do much when I was there. And my boss was cool, so I just got a laptop and I was playing Football Manager. I look forward to go to work just to be able to play Football Manager all day.
Makes sense. Okay, so you did that for a year.
Yeah.
You lived in Abuja. How was it living in I guess this was for the first time you've lived outside a city where you weren't born. And
oh, it was fantastic. And reason being that we shout out to my friend Midun, if she ever sees this. Her dad had a flat in Abuja, a 3-bed flat in Abuja. And Abuja is really expensive to live in, especially when you live in I forget what they call it now, but basically like the city center area. They've got outskirt villages and towns that are much cheaper, but you have to travel
in, which you don't want to.
And they're not as developed and as secure as being in the middle of Abuja. So her dad used to work for the federal, I don't know, some sort of diplomats, and he used to be abroad. And we... So there was a free house, and then Midun said, "Oh, you guys can come stay with us." So we were, I don't know how many we were, but we just took over the house. It was the best experience ever. There were ups and downs, fights and makeups.
Of course.
Imagine putting a bunch of, well, how old were we then? 18 to 20 year olds? Maybe something like that. I don't know how old. But imagine putting, maybe slightly older actually, maybe early 20s.
Yeah, you'd have been early 20s if you graduated uni and then.
Yeah, maybe early 20s, putting a bunch of those people together in a flat. We partied, we had fun. There'll be times where everyone's broke. There was the time we used to do like collective cooking. Everyone pitch money in.
Put some money in to cook.
We'll cook, and then there was a problem where one person will finish the food because it's like, I put money in. Yeah. And then we tried separate ways, do your thing. And it was commotion, but it was fun. It was a lot of fun. Everyone, all the coppers in Abuja knew about us. We lived in a place called Zone 6. And they go, "Oh, those coppers in Zone 6." And everyone wanted to come there and experience what we're doing.
You're the cool coppers.
Yeah, we were cool. Coppers from Lagos as well.
Okay, nice. So that was your NYSC experience. Yeah. What was the next step for you then? Did you know what you wanted to do at this point?
No. I had no idea. I knew I wasn't going to stay in Abuja.
Why was that?
Because Lagos was where I knew, and again, like I said, it was expensive. I was staying in my friend's dad's flat. That wasn't going to be there forever. I'd have to get a place of my own. To live in the city center means I had to depend on my parents heavily. It just wasn't set up the right way. So I left Abuja, went back to Lagos, and then I spoke to one of my uncles and told him I was, looking for a job, and he introduced me to a company that was owned by Abiola.
Okay, MKO.
MKO Abiola, yes.
Okay. Shout out to MKO.
Yeah. Shout out to MKO. And so I worked there. So it was they had military contracts, right? So they did things for the military, but they then set up another division where they were doing retail products. So it was like air conditioning units, ice making fridges or boxes,
Ice
boxes and generators.
Got you.
You know, but they were all from Italy, I think. So it was like a special franchise they're taking or some sort of deal that. So my job was to find a way to sell these things. I just finished as a copper. I didn't know many people that were going to be looking for that. So the plan was for me to go to building sites, try and meet the contractors there, tell them about the air conditioning units. Also talk about they were good products, I think, right? But the problem was you had competition with people like LG.
Yeah, no brand. They didn't have a strong brand presence in Nigeria.
The brand was DeLonghi. It's Italian, I think. Like, that's not how it works in Nigeria. Do you know what I mean? So, and they were not the cheapest products either.
Yeah. And outside of the face-to-face or door-to-door sales, were they investing in marketing, TV adverts?
No, I was the TV advert.
That's what I'm saying. So bro, it makes life a lot more difficult.
So they call some of their friends and say, take our products. Because they were older guys, obviously. There were two guys running it. The guy's friends, MKO's son's friends, were running it. So they had the military operations, which those guys were focused on. So if the military wanted to build something in the base, they'll call these guys. They had like walkie-talkies they supplied. It was just like military stuff, military contracts. So this part of the business was me just figuring it out. Then they had a technical team that I looked after. So if someone wanted the generator installed, I'll, just like a small project manager, get those guys to install. But what I then used to do, right, was go to work. They gave me a car to drive around. I had a friend who used to work in another bank, and then he was a marketer. He was meant to go out as well and sell. So I'll pick him up in the morning. We'll go to the cinema.
Oh, wow. Go watch movies.
We'll go watch movies, go out, eat lunch, make a few calls.
Was your friend hitting his targets, though? Because I know the banks don't play. I know the banks.
Yeah, it was, ultimately, right. Like, what I find about marketing is about sales is how you can, there's smarter ways of doing it.
Yes.
You just need a few contacts and attach that way. It's much difficult prospecting someone and saying, oh, I met Nnamdi, or I've just gone in the street, Nnamdi, I sell this, or you write Nnamdi's name down. You keep phoning Nnamdi every day.
It's easier to find one or two big
person who's going to put you in touch with other people. That's how I think.
That's marketing 101, not networking 101.
Yeah,
so.
and then so we'll still make calls, right? So we'll sell a few things and then we'll just enjoy the rest of the day. So that was my first ever job. Did that for about 8 months, and then I got a job with Zenith Bank.
What was the process like? Was it someone you knew, or
again? Yeah, so. Someone told me about the job. They told me, a friend told me Zenith was recruiting.
Can I just say something? Yeah, for anyone who's not Nigerian who is watching this, if you're trying to do everything by yourself, you'll die of hunger. Look, we believe it. If you know somebody, Nigeria is
pick up your phone and talk to that person.
Pick up the person, talk, let them get you a job. Don't worry about. Unfortunately, that's not how things work. So don't watch this interview and think that if someone got a job. Because someone else, that's not how it works in Nigeria. If you wait till you get what you deserve in Nigeria, you'll be very, very hungry for a long time. So I just thought you might not. I thought I'll clarify that.
And even though I knew someone, right, it's not like I still had to do an exam. I had to do an interview. I remember going for the exams at some place on Ikorodu Road. And I wrote an exam. I wrote maths and English.
Knowing someone just brought you into the front door, basically.
You just told me, knowing someone told me, one, they're recruiting, and two, person probably bumped me to be able to get to the interview, to the exam stage. Yeah,
but you still had to prove yourself,
and I had to do the interview. They couldn't influence the person interviewing me.
Yes.
So I did all of that, and then results came out, and then I got the job.
Nice.
job, I think, is probably what shaped my life the most. I started as a
what year was this, if you don't mind me asking?
2008.
Okay.
Yeah, because I served 2007, 2008. Yeah, 2008. Yeah, end of 2008, I think it was. That job shaped me. Like, it made me who I am majorly. Or I say this because I was doing marketing for Zenith, and I was in Surulere. And it was meant to be a high-performing branch where you had to perform. I was the sort of entry-level guy in the team, so I had to do all the paperwork for all the bigger guys. But I think what made it was tough. It was tough because this was not the kind of sales where you just go and have a drink and cook. No, every day you had to account for what you've done, what it looks like. And my manager was tough. She was tough. She was so tough, but she always used to say, "Oh, you're lucky you met me now. If you met me when I was still tough," and I know
How would I want to meet you?
you're like the devil, like you're tough.
But do you think it came from her getting pressure from the top?
Yeah, it was all about pressure. That was what the whole company was about. It's about bring more money, bring more accounts, grow your accounts. That was all it was about. And what made it worse for me was she had this thing in her head where she believed I knew everyone and that I wasn't pulling my weight enough. Because I'm from Lagos, she's like, "Yeah, you're a Yoruba boy from Lagos. There's no reason." She's like, "Oh, your dad works in so place, so I know that. I know that guy's your uncle." But that's not how you want to use all your contacts. Just bring money to the bank. And I tried. I did try. And I was doing things, but you know how sales is. You're only as good as your last sale. So even when I brought in $500 million, right, it was like, well done. If you brought $500 million, then you can bring $1 billion.
Oh my goodness.
That was one of the reasons why I actually left and just thought, I'm going to go and do a master's degree. That, and in addition to my wife now she was living in the UK then, or around different countries. But I thought, let me just take a year out, go away, do a master's degree, take a break from this madness.
So why did you decide to come to the UK? So why didn't you do your masters in Turkey or America or
good
Canada?
Question. So I think first a few reasons actually. First one was I was in a relationship with someone who was in the UK, so that was one thing. But that wasn't the main thing because she was working in the UK and she works in Denmark, Norway, US. So it could have been any of those countries. But that was the first thing. Secondly, there's a closer. The UK just feels closer to Nigeria.
Compared to
even now, you feel like we live in the UK. It's so easy. I could decide to go to Nigeria tomorrow morning. Like, it feels closer and easier. And then I felt like I had more roots here. My sister was here then. She came to do her master's then. So it was easier then it just felt like my dad did his master's in the UK as well.
Yeah.
In fact, I did my master's in the same uni he went to.
Okay. What uni was that?
Strathclyde in Scotland.
Okay, got you.
So it just felt like the natural course of action. And then to go to the US, you need to do all these SATs and all these funny things.
Yeah.
The UK, all I needed to do was apply, send my
yeah.
degrees in and my degree papers in. I think it's only like the Oxfords and the Cambridges that you need to do any exams or anything. Yeah, but it was quite straightforward, I think.
Okay, so tell me, I don't know, this might be difficult to wrap your head around or to remember, but what was your first thoughts when? Had you been to the UK before?
Yeah, I had.
Okay, you had. Okay, so it wasn't like a.
Yeah, it was
a new experience for you.
No, it wasn't. Came a few summers,
Okay, got you.
But it was still a new experience because all of those times I was dependent on people.
Mm-hmm.
One aunt showing you around, and where did we go? You go to
fun
McDonald's
stuff, fun nice fun areas.
Those things were like the treats then. But landing in Scotland, right? Landing in the airport, getting into a taxi. I can never forget what that experience was like because it felt like, wow. And don't forget, I said I went to Scotland, right? My wife then I think she had moved back to the UK and she was living in London. So going to Scotland, landing there at the airport, I'm like, wow, I have to be a man now. I've always had, like, my parents, even though I was working in Nigeria, I had okay money.
You had a
but I
support
still had that
network.
support. All my money was for spending. All my money was for me to enjoy. It was for me to go out and buy bottles and just enjoy myself. But now it was, okay, you've paid all this money now, you have to be serious. And then I have to try and figure out things around here by myself. I'm going to have bills now. I'm going to,
Transportation.
You're going to have to figure things out. So that was massive. And I think the biggest thing, reason why I said that in the taxi was, I went to Scotland and the taxi driver was trying to have a conversation with me. And I didn't understand what he was saying. So I was like, oh my, I've wasted a lot of money because I don't know, they're speaking a different language here. It was like, yada pal. I'm like, huh? So I did that. I went to my accommodation.
Yeah.
Got out, got registered, got my room. And I just remember that feeling. It was like, oh my word.
Were you on campus?
I was in a private accommodation. I was in Unite. I don't know if you know Unite.
And they provide student accommodation.
Yeah.
So, from your perspective, was that a good decision, or would you have preferred to be?
No, fantastic. Campus was very close.
Okay.
And Unite was so. Strathclyde is in the middle of city centre. It's like bang on middle of city centre. It's like a 300-meter walk from where my accommodation was to school, and the campus was the rooms, the accommodation was right there on campus as well. So it was a short walk for me to get to class and to get to other accommodation. And even in the accommodation I was in, it was Strathclyde students and Glasgow Uni students. So,
okay.
So
you're still interacting with students.
So it was very studentish.
Okay, so one question then is, you're one of the, not few, but you're one person who's gone to university in Nigeria, and then you've done your masters in the UK. Are there any similarities, any differences, anything that's better on one side than the other?
No similarities at all. Zero. I remember when I got to uni here in the UK, day one, all my books were ready. I don't know where I picked them up from, but my books were ready. They gave me a school bag, all the books I needed for the year, a plan of everything that was going to happen, how the exams would be, what you need. So it was very detailed. It was very organized.
Mm-hmm.
It was very... But in Unilag, it was... It gave you some things, but...
You need to go and figure it out yourself.
A lot of figuring out yourself. It wasn't... Everything was online here. Everything was online. You could download your coursework here. The lecturer will speak to you online. It wasn't that Unilag.
Yeah.
I didn't. You asked me a question then about lecturers. I didn't have access to my lecturers. A lot of the girls had access to the lecturers then, because some of them had bad intentions. Not all of them, but
well, the girls had bad intentions, or the lecturers had bad intentions.
Both ways,
okay.
So when I'd booked to see a lecturer in Unilag, I remember I couldn't see him for weeks and weeks, but I knew a girl who was seeing him every day.
Oh wow!
And sometimes you stand outside the door knocking, and then he's like, "Who's there?" You say, "Oh, me." He says, "Come in." You poke your head in, and he's like, "What do you want? Go away." That was how it was. Like, that was my experience. The few times I even decided to go to a lecturer, that was what it was like. And then here, it's almost like the lecturers want you to want them.
Yeah.
So the education was completely different, and I give a lot of credit to anyone who's gone to uni in Nigeria and done well, because you've had to weather a lot of storms. You've had to go through stuff. My sister did chemical engineering in Unilag, and I remember she used to complain about the I don't know what they call those classes now, those tests and things. But they didn't have this kind of labs you would have here.
So actually, practicals.
Exactly. So a lot of things you just read in books, but then to now come abroad and be successful, I give a lot of credit to Nigerians for that, because and our education system was not always like that. I was watching a documentary about University of Ibadan.
Yeah, one of the
when it started,
most
the way it
prominent
started,
universities
exactly
in Africa. Actually.
Yeah, so you look at those places where how they were in the 60s or 70s or whatever versus how they were in the 2000s. And it's,
Bad government, man. Still have bad government, but different story.
Yeah.
So you did your masters. I'm guessing you graduated because you're here. You're smiling. Yeah.
Again, I never learned. I was very playful.
Okay.
I was partying. I went to classes, but I was always in London.
Yeah, you had.
And then when it's time to submit a paper, I'm like, yeah. But I had fun, and I'm glad that I, even in Unilag, like, even though my results were average then, you know, I had a 2-2 in Unilag, I was still very happy. I was fulfilled. I felt good. I remember my graduation. My parents threw a party, big party, because they're like, these guys.
They were not even sure. They were not sure.
Graduated. Even when I graduated from Strathclyde as well, everyone flew. My dad.
Oh my goodness.
Flew some of my uncles down.
Yeah,
flew my aunties down. Everyone was here. We had a nice party. Big celebration. Because he's like, this guy.
The one we were worried about.
This guy. Even when I did my SSC, so what you call GCSEs.
GCA, yeah.
I had like all C's and 1B. My dad shook my hands. I'm proud of you. First time my dad ever told me he was proud of me with a result so average.
Yeah.
When my sister had like almost all A's.
No, man. He knew that, you know, he I guess it was more or less like he knew that if you applied yourself, you'd come out on top. So he was happy to see you actually applying yourself and achieving.
My man was just happy that this boy is not going to be a bum.
No, you're far from a bum, man. You've done well. So after your masters, what was the first thing you decided to do? Did you think, okay, I'm going to move to London?
Yeah. No. My plan was to move to London. So as soon as I finished classes, I moved down to London. I was just chilling, traveling a bit, going to see all my friends I'd met in different parts of Europe. So my plan initially was to go back to Nigeria. I had no intentions to stay in the UK because my idea of what Nigeria was then versus what life would be in the UK was not comparable. Nigeria was going to be better. It was going to be more fun. That's where my family were. That's where all my friends were. That's where... And a lot of people who had gone to school with here as well, who had met, were also going to be going back
to Nigeria.
So it was not a case of staying in the UK. It was never a case of staying in the UK. And at that time, my wife and I, were thinking, okay, she was also thinking, then we're not married. She was thinking she'll move back to Nigeria. So I was, the plan was we'll go back to Nigeria. She's lived here since she was like 16. So she also wanted to move back. It was that thing about... she was doing a graduate scheme with an oil company here, and I thought, okay, you'll be done soon. So after your program, we can move back together. And then I found myself not doing much, and I thought, I can't just sit around and not do anything. So I thought I'll find a job. So I went to a job like a recruitment agency, and took my CV. I remember clearly. I printed it out. I was like, oh, this is my CV. Look for a job. And the next day, they phoned me and said, oh, can you start today? Can you come for an interview today? So I thought, okay, yeah, where's this job? So it was called inbound sales.
Okay.
No, inbound customer something. I had no idea what the job title meant.
You sit down somewhere and
calls
come in and you have to...
And it was with Carphone Warehouse.
Okay. I used to work for Carphone Warehouse, by the way.
You?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
As a BA.
As a BA, you're a big boy there.
No. Much later.
I was shop floor.
What office? The Acton?
Acton,
yeah. Same. So that's where I worked as well. Same.
Oh, that was a good experience as well. So another milestone in building my character was that job, and I'll tell you why. So I went there for the interview. I had to take two buses and 2 tubes.
Oh wow!
So one I used to live in Lower Feltham, right?
Okay.
Take the H26 bus to Hatton Cross Station. Go from Hatton Cross Station to Acton Town.
Hayes and Harlington.
Oh, I didn't used to go.
Oh,
that
you didn't
way.
go to Hayes and Harlington. That's how you.
I took Piccadilly. To Acton Town.
Okay.
Came back on this line to something, I don't remember what that called out, to a place. Then I'll take one more bus to...
Okay, no, you could have got the Hayes and Harlington So you
bus.
get the bus to bus 90
Okay.
from Feltham to Hayes and Harlington, and then get the train from Hayes and Harlington towards Paddington, and it stops at Acton Town, and then you just get the Central Line 2 stops to Acton Central.
That sounds longer.
It does?
Yeah.
It was straightforward. I used to do it door to door 1 hour,
Oh,
under
okay.
1 hour. So it was,
Oh, okay.
yeah. But yeah.
Yeah, so see, that was where I started from.
Mm-hmm.
And day one, I did the interview, scenario-based questions, blah, blah, blah. So you got the job. We're about maybe 20 of us. The next day, they said come and start the job next day. So it was meant to be training. They fired like 4 people on the spot next day.
Why?
They just wanted you to be on it like sharp. I think they're like, okay, now log in. You know, obviously it's new. People are trying to figure things out. You get out.
No way.
It was hard.
That cutthroat. They probably did that to put fear in other
I
people's
went back
bodies.
home, I said to Toro, I said, this job's going to last like 3 days.
Oh my goodness.
And then next day, another 4 people.
Oh wow.
By the time we got on the phone, there were only like 8 or 10 of us or something like that.
No way.
Then they started firing people again on the phone. Because every day you had to make a sale. Every day. Like, no,
sale, like.
mate. And this is like something you just learned. You're still learning it.
Oh my god. Pressure. Talk about pressure.
Mate. I remember one day, and it was tough because I remember, so people call in, they want to buy phones. It's meant to be easy, right? You go through the process. Yeah, all good. Then you run a credit check. Sorry, your credit check has failed.
Yeah.
That person's going mad at you like you're the credit agency. Yeah. So people used to say to me, get out of here, go back home, this. So I thought, oh my God, this is hardcore. But because I had sales experience from Nigeria, remember I said that Nigerian job, resilience, like
nothing can break you.
I can sell anything to anyone. I can do anything. So I then had a strategy because a lot of people couldn't understand my accent. Like, So I then flipped it around. And I used to start the calls with, do you understand what I'm saying? Because I'm trying to learn English. I'm going to night school.
Wow.
And they're like, no, we hear you. I'm like, that means a lot to me.
By any means necessary, man. By any means necessary.
Bro, I just had to.
Yeah.
It was
and did that work for you?
Bro, I was selling. They started to, I remember that guy's face clearly in my head. I don't remember his name, the supervisor. He used to go around telling all the British-born people, look at you, this guy doesn't even speak English and he's selling. Or these guys come from a village or something like that in Africa. Right. And look at him out selling. I was out selling people. That's what I'd done. I remember Zenith. Zenith was hardcore. Like, you didn't want to go back. You didn't want to go to work and you didn't want to go into the office. So that was my background, and then just selling phones on the phone. So I did well, but I only stayed there for like 2 months because I wanted to go to Nigeria. Then I used to go back to Nigeria a lot.
Regularly.
So I wanted to go back to Nigeria, and I just thought, I can't be taking 2 buses and 2 trains all the time. It's cold. And then I stopped that job. And then I'm preparing to move back to Nigeria, right? And then a friend told me about, I was just chatting to someone randomly, and she's like, Barclays are recruiting. Again, didn't know what the job was. I just went online, filled my application. I got called, went for the interview. They told me you've got the job. And then I rocked up. And they said, so your basically first ever job at Barclays was counter teller. What do you call that thing?
Yeah. Bank teller.
Bank teller. And I did that for a little bit. And then my manager started to see that. And I was like, this guy stands out from...
Because you had worked in the bank already. So was that a bit of... Did that help in any way?
No. What helped was more my ability to just talk to people and engage and be able to build relationships with people. And then on the counter as well, you're selling things. I don't know if you've gone to the bank where they're like, did you know that?
Insurance.
Yeah. So I was like referring a lot of insurance, loans and stuff. Because, in 2 seconds, I can build relationships with people. And I just started to sell these things, like refer. So they're like, oh no, we're going to make you a personal banker now. And then from personal banker, did other stuff, ended up doing projects. And that was sort of how I started my life in tech.
Okay. So how long were you in the bank for? And what year was this?
3 years. So 2013 to 2016.
Okay. And what was your reason for leaving that role?
So I got exposure to tech, but you know how it is in bigger companies. You do a small bit of work here and there. So I remember one of my managers then said, "Oh, if you want to get full exposure and understand this better, you need to go to a smaller company, like an IT company." So
Okay, so at this point, you decided that you wanted to work within the tech space.
yeah. So I left and went to. I just started applying online. No, I went and did Prince 2 exams, and then I just started applying to jobs online. I think the first few jobs I applied for, I remember clearly. I was sitting at home that day, and then I just pressed apply on Total Jobs for this job, and straight away this person calls me. I'm on the toilet seat. This person calls me straight away and says, "Oh, I've just seen your application. Where do you live?" I live in Beasley. I used to live in Beasley working there. And she checks. She's like, "Oh wow, can you? How close are you to Camberley?" And I had no idea where Camberley was. I thought she meant Camberwell.
Yeah, I still don't even know where it's in Surrey, isn't it?
Yeah, Camberley. You've been there. That's where Steve's place is.
Okay,
Yeah.
I know where that
So I
is.
quickly Google Maps. It's like just 15 minutes driving. I'm like, huh? So I'm like, yeah, I live there. And straight away she organized an interview. I went for the interview. I was meant to meet with the operations manager or something. She wasn't, operations director. She wasn't there. So I got interviewed by the MD.
And what role was this for?
So it was a contract project manager role.
Got you.
And it was a project for Capita.
Okay.
So I interviewed, went away, and then the recruiter called me and said, "Oh, you didn't get it. They liked you, but you didn't get it. There was someone who studied computer science. That was the only reason why she got it over you." So that gave me confidence. I'm like, yeah, that was my first ever interview for a project manager role. And then I got a call back shortly after. I said, the managing director says they'll give you something else for that.
They liked you that much that they wanted to.
Yeah. And we didn't even discuss any tech or anything like that. He was asking me questions about my phone, what kind of phone I use, why I use that phone, why I don't use an iPhone. And I was just having a normal conversation. And, do you do any activities? Do you do anything? Do you like going out? I just had a normal conversation. And I left there thinking, there's no way I'm getting this job. This guy didn't even think I was worthy enough to answer any tech questions. But then they gave me that role. And that role was a project manager and an account manager role combined, because it was a smaller company as well. So what that means is you'd have a portfolio of clients, and then you work with a tech person to
Help
look at
deliver
the
those.
accounts. Look at the accounts and think, what sort of projects or what sort of things do these people need to improve? So it might be a case of, their security is really bad. Then we're going to have a chat with them and say, look, your security is really bad. This is why. These are things you need to do. So we then create those projects and implement them.
Yeah.
So that was the difference. But in any other place, someone's initiated the project and or someone's come up with a business case for it and you're just delivering. But here, you had to keep in touch with your clients. You had to do quarterly reviews with them. You had to monthly or quarterly, I don't remember now. I had relationships with suppliers. I learned tech from scratch.
Got you.
I learned tech from scratch. Like I can put together a laptop or break the laptop now, because of that company. It all started from scratch. It wasn't a case of someone's done some of the work. No. You did everything. Then I went to a lot of networking events. It was very good. That's probably the best job that I've had.
Okay. And so how long did you do that for?
About 3 years.
Okay.
Over 3 years, actually. Just under 4 years. Did that. The opportunity came up to go somewhere else for more cash.
Yeah.
And that company was really good to me. I didn't think to leave because I was getting money all the time. It was really good. And it was close to home. It was it was very people orientated, that company.
Yeah.
So there was
Well,
no reason to leave. But
I also believe that, you know, you can't stay in one place for too long. Sometimes
I
you
got
need
very
to
comfortable.
you need to move out and explore
Yeah.
and learn
Yeah.
more stuff, because
Exactly.
whatever you learn will still be limited if you're within one
Exactly.
organization. So,
Exactly. And so I left. I went somewhere else, but it was good because that gave me more exposure to more things. Like you said, I learned so much more.
Okay, so are you still within the project management
Yes.
sphere,
Yes.
universe, like, you know,
Yes.
yeah, you're,
Yes.
okay, so you've maintained since then, yeah?
I've maintained since then, delivered all sorts of projects,
Okay.
programs. My last job was with Compare the Markets as a program manager. That was really good. That was completely different from anything I'd done. And then now I'm likely to go back to, so this company that I said I worked in that I really liked has now been sold. It's been sold to a bigger company. But the bigger company then got in touch with me and I've asked if I want to come back there.
Okay.
And not just come back there, it's a different
You're coming in
role.
a different capacity now.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's more going to be in that business development space. You know, all of that networking stuff I said I used to do.
Which is
and
good,
like-
which is a good challenge. So it's almost like
Yeah.
the things you've done 10 years ago
Yeah.
has come full circle now, and you're using the same
Exactly.
skills,
And
which
like-
is
exactly.
amazing.
Exactly.
So one thing I want to touch on before we wrap up this interview is I always try to one of the reasons why I decided to create this chat is for there's a lot of people jackbuying from Nigeria. So for people who don't know, Jappa means like leaving the country where you were born or the country where you were raised and going to another country. There's a lot of people leaving. If you could go back to Mo, it doesn't matter when you came, but if you can go back to Mo that came in when you came to do your masters, what advice would you give yourself, both in terms of getting work, settling down, where you'd live, like what general advice would you give someone that'll give you a better advantage? Because have it in mind that someone else who's going to fly into the country tomorrow, or someone who's in Nigeria now watching this interview or wherever they are, would use this information to help themselves.
My biggest advice is when you come here, first come. If I know people go abroad without the right papers and things like that, but first advice, come in the right way, right? Come in the right way. Whichever way you've got him here, you've got him here. You have to just interact and get into the culture. I have Nigerian friends who've been here way longer than me, and they've never been to pubs before.
Wow.
They don't go out with their workmates. They only eat Nigerian food. They only do those things they used to do in Nigeria. Right? And I think it's it works for some people, but my biggest advice is to don't live your life that way.
Come in and adapt.
Adapt, integrate into the society. There's so much to enjoy. There's so much to enjoy and so much to experience and learn. Another massive advice is don't limit yourself. Nigerians have a grateful heart when they go abroad. Like, oh, I'm here now. Oh, I didn't have light at home or electricity at home. Now I have electricity. Oh, I'm grateful. Oh. And stay in the ceiling's like that high. If I advise myself again, is not to even have a ceiling, because
go for the top of the
you
top.
can achieve whatever you want to achieve in this country. The environment is enabling. People talk about, discrimination and those kind of things. I don't see those things. And I say I don't see those things because everything that I've achieved in this country has been in a situation where I've been the only person that looks like me. But when companies have said, oh, there's a halt on promotion, my promotion's never been halted. When they say there's a hold on pay rises, mine's never been that. I'm forever getting messages for people wanting to hang out with me that I ordinarily wouldn't, if I was a certain way, wouldn't meet. I'm very engaged socially when it comes to work things. Just enjoy yourself. Don't limit yourself to anything. You can achieve anything, mate. I think we're talking about it before this podcast, saying talking about consistency and
Yes.
how that's what makes you get as high as you are. And also, we also said something about not trying enough. Because one of the problems I have is I'm getting a bit too comfortable. Like, I'm comfortable. You can eat what you want. You can send your kids to good schools. You have a nice enough house. You live in a good area. Like, you start to get too comfortable. Like,
Yeah.
but you can push yourself to go, because this country affords you the opportunity to do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
I mean, there are Nigerians who are very successful, very, very successful. There are people at the top of their jobs and
fields,
careers, and
No, 100%.
you can achieve it. But I've seen where people tell people to be grateful with the smaller things. I know people who come here who are working top bank jobs in Nigeria and are just happy to be Amazon. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being an Amazon guy, but they work in factories and their only dream, or they work in care. Again, I'm not knocking them. And their only dream is to maybe become a supervisor in because they don't understand that they can do much more.
Much more. I was going to add to what you said. Yes, I feel like in the UK, you get in as much as you're willing to put.
Yeah.
So if you're willing to work hard, then
Yeah.
I'm not saying there's no discrimination, but it's not still something that should stop you from, achieving
anyone
your
who's
goals.
discriminating against you here, it's them. It's on them, because, and I say this not just because of my experiences, but I look at people who have been successful. And it's not just the rare occasion. Like, a lot of my friends are flying. They're flying so high. They're partners in big fours. They're directors in multinationals. They're CFOs. Because they want to do, the opportunity is there. Yeah. So don't limit yourself. I say to people, I gave my brother this advice recently. So he's just moved to Canada, and he's just got a job and he's happy and stuff. I'm like, yeah, well done, mate. But remember in Nigeria how high you were flying. So don't
make sure you're
don't
on
put
the
a
same,
ceiling. Like, don't. I'm like, give yourself a year or two. Buy your house. Buy this. Buy that. Buy that. That's how you need to be moving. Like, don't move like, oh, I'm happy.
You're grateful to.
I'm grateful.
Yeah.
Like, no.
Okay. So you've heard it, guys. Mo says for people who are jackpotting, you don't have to be jackpotting from Nigeria. It could be anywhere.
Yeah.
Wherever you go to, just make sure that you're gunning and you're pushing for it, and you're not
Talk to the right people.
Yeah.
Talk to the right people, because some people will kill your dream and limit your dream.
Okay. So one more thing I want to touch on before we wrap this up.
Yeah.
So we're Nigerians. We grew up in Nigeria, and there's a part of it that just is a bit disappointing that we've left our homes to live here for whatever reasons. I feel like if Nigeria was the country that it is meant to be, a good number of us will still be out there. We'll still, there won't be a lot of people leaving. So I just wanted to find out your thoughts. We're not pointing any fingers. We're not calling any names. But what are your thoughts on the situation in Nigeria in terms of government, and what do you think can be done to make things better so that we stop, there isn't a lot of immigration, or is it emigration? I don't know. Yeah. So there isn't a lot of, people trying to run away because of the hardship or...
The way I see it, right? So first and foremost, I believe because you moved abroad doesn't mean cut your ties back home. My parents, both parents live in Nigeria. My mother-in-law and father-in-law live in Nigeria, and my sister still lives in Nigeria. So I'm still well connected to Nigeria. I was there for like 3 weeks. I want to go more, but and I do think emigration is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. In the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, people did leave Nigeria, But I think the important thing is not cutting those ties and still having a voice to speak. We actively participated in the elections by just speaking about it. We didn't have a vote, but we could influence people back home. I remember having this conversation with my parents. So I don't think there's anything wrong with people living in Nigeria. In terms of making it better, people are also moving back to Nigeria. this is the part that people don't really talk about, because a lot of tech people have moved back to Nigeria. A lot of people in the Nollywood industry, the people doing the post editing and all of that stuff, they've moved back to Nigeria. So don't forget, there's also people moving into Nigeria. You know, there's people.
But you can't compare the numbers, though. In terms of like
it's
people
not,
who are leaving.
No, it's not. And look at the population of Nigeria, right? As long as you develop other people, Nigeria is not suffering from population.
Yeah.
You know, Nigeria is, if anything, is a population crisis.
So the thing is the brain drain for me. So I feel like there's educated people who have held good positions and good jobs, and they're not even in a position to transfer that knowledge.
Yeah.
You know, and they're
and that's something we need to be careful of, especially with doctors, some specialists. I mean, I'll give you an example of what happened when Nigeria did the cashless society, when they were trying to go cashless, and they stopped people spending cash. The bank suffered because a lot of their IT guys have moved away, and then they expected to depend solely on tech. So that was a big problem. But at the same time, that's where companies need to evolve as well. You need to start to outsource, buy your tech from somewhere else. Oh, Nigeria is big enough. How about you get more? This is probably where the government and other people need to do more. You know, there's so many brains that can become your IT support guys, that can become your programmers, the brains there. So, and some people are taking advantage of this as well. So, and this is probably another opportunity for you now to set up something in Nigeria, because the people are there. Not everybody can Jappa, don't forget. It's maybe middle class and above that can Jappa. So there's still so many smart people there.
So what's this opportunity? What am I setting up? Because I like business.
I like to my head now.
I like business, man.
But my point is, there's so much positivity to people moving abroad. Look at how much money gets sent back to Nigeria. I'm sure you're probably helping one or two people back home. If you were back there, maybe you still be able to do it, but maybe not as much as you do now. Yeah. The amount of money that goes back to Nigeria from people in diaspora is massive. Yeah. So we look at the positives, but our country needs to be. Nigeria is
definitely we hold on to our identity. We have a strong, so wherever we are, we still try to the most of us anyway, I'd say. We try to keep in touch and do things out there and go back and visit. And I think what I was just trying to touch on, and what's a bit disappointing for me is I would say we're one of the smartest in terms of just overall, in terms of the fields that we're in and stuff. And it's a bit disappointing that we do not have the infrastructure to actually build, just based on the natural given talents. We don't have the infrastructure, we don't have the facilities, we don't have the opportunities. And even touches on what we were saying, that if you don't know anyone in Nigeria, the opportunities are very, very limited. So it's easy for us to.
We need to move. We need to. And
what can the government do? What can the government
just enable the environment for people to do things?
How?
Good example, right? Agriculture, right?
I know, but Buhari tried to do it and nothing happened because between.
They'll get there, because I'll tell you what I mean. Only the government can make certain industries thrive, right? And the way to do it is simple. Give grants for people to come and start farming. I know you said Buhari did it. Reduce taxes people pay when you're doing farming. Because me opening a massive farm, or maybe not massive, an average farm, even a small farm, I need people. Look at our friend who has a farm in Nigeria. He does cows. He does cows, goats, fish. What else does he do? Charcoal.
Shout out to our boy Ade.
Yeah. So look at how many people he's actually helping out and feeding. One of my mates as well. He has he does. It's not cassava, is it? But he has like a plant he's set up now in Osun State, employing people there. Now, even part of the then he relies on drivers to bring it down to Lagos. Now, if a lot of people are producing, there will be opportunities for people. There will be employment opportunities. But when it's difficult to do anything, those industries will not. Tourism is the biggest unexplored thing in Nigeria, and that can be the biggest thing in Nigeria at the same time. But there's no security,
Exactly.
and it's only the government that can provide security. So if there's no security and you're trying to do tourism,
So we have, and I try not to be too hard or harsh on Nigeria, but we've been unlucky with the kind of governance we've had.
Yeah, it's been
over
terrible.
the years.
Yeah.
Everyone, every couple of years, someone comes in and says they're going to make the change, and nothing changes. So where's the hope that things will change? If we're saying there's no security and there hasn't been security in certain areas for the past 15, 20 years.
It will change because some countries in the world have been worse than us. I know we had Biafra in Nigeria, right? A lot of people died. Rest in peace to them. But when you look at places like Rwanda, I'm sure when you look at percentage of people who died versus Nigeria, it's probably bigger in Rwanda when they had their civil war. But look at where they are now. They've been able to move past some of those things and actually having a one of the maybe fastest growing economies in Africa.
I think Nigeria's moved past all of that.
No. What I mean is I'm trying to show you where things get better or things can get better.
Well, I'd say in comparison, and I can't speak for the people from Rwanda, but it has a major thing has to do with the leadership. The guy who's
that's what I mean.
But we haven't had that.
No, but that's what you said. That where does it come from?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is I'm not specifying the leader who's going to change Nigeria. It might be the current government who's going to change things. But what I'm trying to show,
by the way, but yeah,
no. But what I'm trying to show is that there is hope that things can get better.
Yeah,
there are countries that have been worse than Nigeria, like I said, who have
So
whether the
I
storm.
understand what you're trying to say, but I feel like I'm tired of living in hope. I want some sort of...
No, you have to... There's nothing you can do. Okay, look at some countries in Africa now going through coups. Something would take the natural course of action of how it's... Like I said, it might be the current government. Why can it not be the current government that makes things better?
I hope it is. I'm saying I'm not hopeful.
Yeah.
I hope... I hope they're the ones, but based on the last 20 years in terms of history... Yeah. And based on the people who are in power now, I am a bit pessimistic. I'm allowed to be pessimistic.
Of course. But again, what do we have to hang on to?
Nothing. That's what I'm saying. No hope.
Like I'm saying, if these people enable things to happen, Nigerians are not lazy. Nigerians have money, and Nigerians have a lot of countries in the world want to give Nigerians money to, people want to invest in Nigeria, but only when it's the right conditions. So, if we can get to those conditions, there's no reason why we can't get to those conditions. I just used a country that had probably one of the worst civil wars that I know. And,
but the problem,
and they've moved on from it.
I bet that's what I'm saying. I don't think the problem is civil war or anything to do. I feel like it's bad governance.
No, I'm not saying we have to fight a civil war. I'm saying that people who have been in the worst situations,
I understand that,
are excelling now, so we can also move there.
But if they came out of the worst situation and they still had bad governance, they'll still be back there. So what I'm saying is,
like I said, you don't know what government is going to be the best.
Yes.
No government comes there with the intention not to do well.
Buhari did.
No. Even Buhari. And another problem Nigeria has is consistency. When someone new comes, we talk about Lagos and some of the progress he made. It's because everyone who's come wants to outdo the last man who was there. Because the mentality is, I have to do well. I have to set up new hospitals. I need to set up new roads. I need to set up... It's like a competition to keep doing well. If there can be that consistency, even as Lagos, where people have come from the same party, right? When you look at it, they still did not continue each other's projects. Now they're starting to do it a bit, but everyone wants to be that guy who has his name on the thing. So until we move past that, where it's not that the people are bad. Buhari is not a bad man who came there to say, I'm going to...
She is bad. In my opinion, is a very bad man.
He didn't come there to say, I want to ruin Nigeria.
He came. That guy, they sent him from the left to come out. I don't know where that guy came from. But he took us back at least like 30, 40 years.
I don't think so. Because it's unfair as well to judge a government that went through COVID and went through...
Leave that guy.
Recession.
That guy, I will judge him all I want.
He's done well.
That guy is the worst thing that happened to Nigeria since the...
Who could have done... I mean, look at the UK.
Yeah.
look at the UK.
UK isn't any better. I'm not comparing it to them. I'm just saying that
Yeah.
we've just come through a lot. But okay, so one more thing. This is you don't have to answer this question.
Yeah.
So the Lagos State governor
Yeah.
was spotted wearing a £140,000 wristwatch
Yeah.
in the midst of all the poverty and stuff. What are your thoughts on that?
First things first, right? Is who has the receipt for his watch?
No. Let's not even. Wait. Mo,
we need to move away from the mentality of.
Wait. Let me
If he
just
was
say.
driving
Let
a
me just say.
Maybach, then I can say that's a Maybach.
Mo,
But
let me
let's
just
even
say.
say it's a
Wait, let me
$140,000
just clarify that one. They took a picture of the watch, retail 140
But
grand.
who took a picture of the watch? Like,
It's on the news. I'll send you a pic. It's not. This is not rumor. Like, this is the same watch, the same strap.
Okay.
Whatever.
Let's say it's the same watch.
Yeah.
Let's say it's the same watch. Yeah. My take is, I might sound political, but
Yeah, I think you're a natural politician. So go for it.
No.
Go for it.
the job of every government official, right, is to try and make things better. That's how I choose to judge them. Not the watch they wear. Government officials can make as much money as they want. If Sanwo-Olu goes to talk in Harvard or talks in a program or talks, he can command a lot of money. So they have private things they can use to make money. If Peter Obi wears a shiny watch, I'm not going to blame him. He's worked. He has businesses and he can afford some of these things.
But
But that
don't you
shouldn't be the
think it's a
yardstick
bit?
for. I don't think that should be the yardstick for us.
Don't you think it's a bit insensitive as
No,
a sitting
no.
governor?
No, I
you
don't
have
think so. No.
you have civil servants that haven't been paid.
Let me tell you.
You have civil servants that haven't been paid.
Namo.
You have bad roads. You have
Namo,
everything,
Namo.
and you're wearing 130,000,
No, I'll tell you something.
140,000
What
pound
I
watch.
don't encourage is corruption, right? I cannot start to say where he made his money from. No.
We all know,
No,
man.
Namo. Let's be.
We all know. We all know.
Namo, let's. What I don't want to do is to start to make assumptions that he did this. No. But
Okay.
if we go from a base of what should we be judging him on, his government, what he's doing, his policies, and how he's moving things forward. If not, we will start to judge everything.
Okay. So let me just say my own piece. So for me, I feel like it's a bit insensitive.
One more question.
Yeah.
The poor man on the streets, right, doesn't know what the guy is wearing. He doesn't know what his watch is.
No. It's
The
for
people
it's
that
for
care
us.
about what people are wearing.
It's for people like
and
me
the
because
people that can eat and
I'm into
don't have
watches, so I like
problems.
watches. So I saw that watch. I was like, this watch
I'm
fine.
going home.
Okay, but yeah. So just to clarify, so
Yeah.
for me, I feel like it's a bit insensitive, but that's not what. But based on the history of the Nigerian government, I also feel like that kind of frivolous money and frivolous spending comes from corruption. It's just my opinion. I'm not accusing the Lagos State governor of any corruption, but
I see
where we come
I
from,
see-
it's easy to
You know what? I think some of this yardstick we're holding these guys on, like this guy came to watch a football match on his own time during his own break by himself. He didn't tell anyone to film him.
I never said anything.
When you talk about sensitivity, if he took that watch, went to Nigeria, told everybody this watch is $140,000 and he's doing this, then you can talk about. But this man's just come to watch a football game on his own. Obama, all these people, they wore fancy things, flashy things.
No. So this
It's their property.
watch was when he was in Nigeria in a meeting, giving a press conference.
No, it was when he went to Arsenal game.
No.
Yeah, I saw it.
The one I'm talking.
And-
Mo, just to clarify, the one
Yeah.
I'm talking about, it was wearing a blue suit with a tie, holding a microphone, just like I'm talking to you
Namo,
now.
do you know what? The average person cannot tell how expensive someone's watch is.
Bro, this watch is so
You're
unique.
wearing a Rollie, yeah. I could tell. You're wearing a
It's not
classic
real.
Rollie.
It's fake. It's a
So
fake
I know
one.
this watch. I know. I have an idea.
Yeah.
But show me any other watch. I have no clue.
I promise you, yeah, I'm into watches, so I know a lot about them. This one is unique. It had a green strap. It had some ruby.
But do you think the average man on the streets of Lagos?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
So
That-
it's people who are taking this thing.
So for me, the way I'm seeing it is, you're governor of a state. There's a lot of poor people in the state.
No. We can't do that. If
No?
no, we can't do that. What he
Okay.
needs to be doing is doing his work and
Well,
make Lagos better.
We're going into political
Yeah.
side now, but Mo, I want to thank you so much for coming. It's been
Thank
a great
you
conversation.
for having me. No, I've
I feel
enjoyed
like
it.
we could do a spin-off. Come and talk about life in the UK, life in other countries. But thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Like I said earlier, Mo is the host for the Sabi podcast. And we've been waiting for him to come to that one. So he agreed to come and record on this side. So yeah, look out for Mo.
Thank you very much.
Is there anything else you want to say? Shout out to
I'm going
your
for
fam, to the
barbecue
kids.
now. I'm gonna have fun.
Anyone that's going to watch you want to call their names out and say, look,
just gonna have fun.
All right. Thank you very much, Mo. And
Cheers.
thanks for watching. Have a great day.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more 2 Sabi podcast episodes.